we thought it'd be a good day to have John Lott with us. John Lott has written a book called More Guns, Less Crime, to talk about this issue in greater detail. John, how are you?
Oh, great to talk to you again.
Okay, so listen, I'm reading this comment from a criminal defense attorney over in Baltimore. This was on the Channel 13 website over in Baltimore. Says, William Buey, stand your ground puts more people at risk. When you start to encourage private citizens to use self-help, I think you're actually encouraging more crime of its own, even though it's a different type of crime. What would you say to that, having done a lot of research on the matter?
All right, well, there's a reason why most of the states have stand-your-ground type laws. I mean, some states have had these for hundreds of years. It's not something new or radical. And that is, when you make people have to retreat as far as possible, there's uncertainty often in terms of what is meant by as far as possible. You've had state legislatures from heavily Democratic states like Illinois, or other states, even Barack Obama, when he was in the state Senate in Illinois, co-sponsored a move to stand your ground in Illinois. In Florida, when it was adopted virtually unanimously by both parties, in Pennsylvania also. And this hasn't been really a partisan issue until, unfortunately, it's been made one in the last year or so with the Trayvon Martin case. And the irony there is the stand your ground law had absolutely nothing to do with that case. When even the prosecution appeared to agree at the end of the trial that Zimmerman was on his back. There was no place for him to retreat to. And so the issue of whether or not somebody had retreated as far as possible was completely moot. It wasn't relevant. And yet somehow that's turned into this political football that just a few years ago, and the reason why a few years ago there was such unanimity is that you'd have cases come out. I give you one from Oklahoma where a 67-year-old man had pulled into a parking lot, had gotten out of his car. A robber had accosted him and knocked him down. The 67-year-old man tried to run away, got up, got knocked down a second time, tried to get up, run away a third time, got knocked down. And at that point he pulled out his permanent concealed handgun and fatally shot the attacker. The problem was the prosecutor said, well, it was still possible for him to retreat even further. And so it's kind of outrage to that case and other similar cases. State legislatures around the country said, look, this type of uncertainty about what exactly it means to retreat as far as possible, and they eliminated that.
John Lott is our guest, and his latest book, by the way, is At the Brink, Will Obama Push Us Over the Edge? And can you just, in a quick summation here, give us the quick definition on stand your ground versus the castle doctrine? Because does stand your ground basically bring the castle doctrine outside of your home? Is that basically the difference?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Both of them deal with this central notion that of a reasonable person test. You're only allowed to use any type of force defensively, whether it's a gun or a baseball bat or a knife, when a reasonable person would believe that they were in imminent danger of either death or serious injury. You just can't go and use it because somebody is following you or something like that. You have to be a reasonable person would have to believe that you're in really serious, imminent danger.
And so right now, Maryland utilizes the castle doctrine in many of its self-defense defenses, or if you use self-defense as your defense in the case of any kind of alleged crime utilizing a gun. And so now when castle doctrine, of course, means that if your home is being invaded, you have the right to protect your home and protect the people inside your home. Stand your ground basically takes that outside of your home and says, you can stand your ground and protect yourself if you're under threat. So given that, what's the controversy?
Well, as I say, up until kind of this made-up controversy over supposedly applying the law to the Trayvon Martin case, there wasn't a controversy that was there. It was unanimity almost by politicians on both sides of the political aisle. And in Maryland, since you really are very, very limited, only very few people are able to carry a concealed handgun, get a permit for it, you're basically talking about a situation where there'd be some other way that somebody would be allowed to defend themselves without having to retreat as far as possible.
Have you done an analysis of states that have stand your ground laws and the crime rates in those states versus those that have duty to retreat laws?
Yes, the third edition of More Guns, Less Crime is actually the first published study on that, and I find some reductions in different types of violent crime as a result of doing that. I think
of passing stand your ground laws.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That you make it easier for people to defend themselves. There's risks to the victim. Additional time passes as they're trying to figure out how far they have to retreat before they're allowed to go and defend themselves, and that put victims at greater risk of something going wrong for them.
But John Lott, it appears that race has now been injected into the debate over stand your ground, especially because of the aftermath of the Zimmerman trial. But I read somewhere that you did some analysis showing that, in fact, more blacks are utilizing the stand your ground law and actually benefit from the stand your ground law. Explain that to me.
Right. Look, blacks generally, particularly blacks who live in high crime urban areas, benefit much more than whites do from owning guns. And that's simply due to the fact that the people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime benefit the most from having the option to be able to go and defend themselves. Police are extremely important, but police virtually always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And the question is, what do you advise somebody to do? And just as blacks benefit more from having guns to be able to go and defend themselves, they also benefit from making it easier for them to do that so they don't have these problems, these issues about trying to figure out how far they have to retreat before they're able to defend themselves.
The state of Maryland, as you look at it, how does it come down in its gun laws? Because it seems that we can basically have made it very difficult to own a gun,
right,
very difficult to have a permit. And now if you find yourself, and you've done everything by the book, and you do have a weapon, and you find yourself in a confrontation with a bad guy, they have laws that make it very difficult for you to actually protect yourself.
Right. There's this trend going on in the country, and it's not just in Maryland, to impose taxes and fees on people being able to go and get guns. With the new laws that they've just passed in Maryland, to get a handgun permit, it's going to cost, we don't know exactly yet, but something well over $300, maybe $350 more, plus time involved. Who do you think gets stopped from owning guns in that situation? Mm-hmm. It's just like in Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., according to the Washington Post, it costs over $534 to go and register and license a handgun in the district. The only people that you get to own guns in that situation are basically wealthy whites.
And criminals who aren't going to follow that law.
Who avoid having to pay the fees to be able to do it. And so poor blacks, who are the ones who are most vulnerable to crime, law-abiding blacks, it's if the Democrats want to make sure that they're the ones who aren't going to be able to own guns. The interesting thing is, with all these taxes and fees, which has been kind of the one common feature of all these laws that have been pushed from New York to Colorado to New Jersey across the country, when Republicans have tried to put up amendments that would go and exempt people below the poverty level from having to pay those taxes and fees, Democrats have voted lockstep against exempting poor people from having to pay fees for going and obtaining guns.
Oh. All right, John Lott, we're going to have to leave it there. Always good to have you, though. Thank you for that. But, yeah, that's amazing. So, basically, the Democrats are the ones, because when they think impoverished people who want guns, they just think hillbillies in coal country. You know, that's what keep them from having it. Thanks, John Lott. He's the author of More Guns, Less Crime, and also his latest book, At the Brink, Will Obama Push Us Over the Edge? Just buy him now at Amazon.com. It's 8:47. Let's go straight to traffic and weather with Jerry Hoyt.
All right, 270 southbound slow between Frederick and Clarksburg, and also between Montrose Road and the 270 spur. Outer loop delays between New Hampshire Avenue and Georgia Avenue. Moving into Virginia, 66 slow between 234 Business and the car rest area between 50 and 123. And inside the Beltway, it was slow between Westmoreland Street and Sycamore Street. 95 northbound of Virginia slows between 610 Garrisonville and Quantico, between the Fairfax County Parkway and the Fairfax County Springfield Parkway. Once you're inside the Beltway, you're going to find delays on 395 northbound between 236 Landmark and Seminary Road. And now the 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL Weather Channel forecast.
Not too bad a shape here as we roll on through this Monday morning. Weather-wise, nothing on radar, and we don't expect it to change through today. A nice dry day and warm up to 89. A stray shower or storm tonight, 72. Chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow, 92. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stidgick on WMAL.
Right now it's 65 degrees. Traffic and weather brought to you by Mini Cooper.
Everything is more fun behind the wheel of a Mini.